Hi guys, very good morning to you and welcome to the video number 191. And in this video we are going to talk about one of the very common question actually which people ask in the VBA interviews, and if you know it, I mean nothing like it. So it actually also tells you, tells the person who is going to interview you that where exactly you stand in the VBA. And if you know this, then I mean your concepts are very much clear, because VBA is all about creating the functions, creating the macros. So one of the very frequent question which you will be asked in the interview is what is the difference between a function and a sub? Now sub means actually a macro, in layman term if I have to tell you, or you also call it sub procedure. Subroutine or sub procedure, macro, one and the same thing, guys, right? So today I'm going to actually discuss on that. And there are a lot of stuff actually on Google. You can Google it, you can read a lot of stuff, you can prepare yourself what exactly you need to speak. But I guess if you see this practically also, that what exactly it means, then it would make a lot of difference. So with that attempt to make you awesome in cracking the VBA interviews, I just thought that let's go ahead and let's upload this video. So my name is Ajay, and for those who are watching me for the first time, then this is the video number 191. We have already uploaded very great videos on on my channel. 190 videos are there. They are on the Excel, they are on the VBA, they are on the MS Access, they are on the MS Access VBA. So you can go to my playlist, and here under the playlist called this one, Excel VBA interview questions, you can watch all these 6 videos, amazing videos. I hope you will like them, and it's going to give you a lot of benefit. And just in case if you're preparing for the interview, or maybe in the coming time you want to switch to the MIS field, to the analytic fields, then these questions are actually going to help you a lot. So please watch all these videos one by one. And so in this video also I'm going to specifically talk about the difference between the function and sub. Now you might have, as I said, that if you Google it, you will find a lot of stuff. So you generally you read this syntax, which you find that function returns a value, whereas sub does not. Sub means actually macro, right? Sub actually executes this set of instructions which you write in the VBA code. So you would find this line a lot on the internet. So today, and which is correct also, of course, I'm not telling you that you shouldn't actually say this, you should say this, but you should also understand the in-depth meaning of it, right? So with this attempt, let's go ahead and let's discuss that now. I would expect that obviously, because if you have to crack the VBA interview, then I'm expecting that if you're watching this video, then you must be knowing the basics of the VBA. If you just don't have any clue about it, then yes, this video will be very difficult for you, but still you can watch it. And because when you actually want to prepare for the exams, before you start reading the books, it's good to go through all the kind of the questions, right? Like what kind of questions basically are being asked. So that gives you a kind of a clarity in your mind, when you start reading the book. So you remember, all right, so this was something there I have read in that assignment, in that question, so it actually is a very important thing, right? So I mean you can always watch it. So let's start this. So I go to the developer tab, and then let me show you what exactly it means. Now as you know that macro is something which you write here, right? You can write any macro. For example, let's write a very simple macro. Okay, I name it simple macro. Now what I want to do is, let's say I give you a task that declare 2 variables and add them, and then multiply it with 5, and whatever the output you will have, display it in the message box, or maybe display it somewhere here. So basically this is what we want to do, right? So if you want to write the sub, if you want to write a macro, how will you write it? This is how you will write dim I as let's say long, and dim j as long, and then let's say you'll give some value here, I equals to let's say 100 and j equals to maybe 200, and so one more variable let's declare, which is going to be the dim k as long. Okay, so I'm going to sum them, I plus j. So what is the answer, right? So answer would be 300. So would you like to display it somewhere, or maybe here? So we can say, all right, so whatever the message, whatever the sum we will have, that should be printed on the A1 value of the sheet 1. Okay, so this is what I'm going to say, value equals to k. Now that's a very simple, basically a sub we have made. So I will make it very simple because you just need to understand the concept, right? So if I run this, you know what will happen. You will have this 300 printed on this A1 sheet, right? But the point is, tell me one thing, guys. If I want this 300 here, let's say here I want this value, can you use it? Can you use this macro here, right? For example, what I'm saying is that the macro name is simple macro. Can you use that here? You can't use that here. Like the functions, for example, in Excel, we have a function called sum. You can use that function. You can use that. You can use those parameters, and you can, select this and press enter, and the value would come. But the macro, the sub which you have written, that you can't actually use in this way. On the spreadsheet, you can't use. On the front end, you can't use. So that is the difference between a sub and a macro. That is the difference between sub and actually a function, or macro and a function. Function returns the value. You can use it on the spreadsheet directly. Now, as I said that, there are a lot of functions here. Now, these are all the Excel functions. Now, some of them, some of these functions you can use in the VBA also, but I'm not going to use any inbuilt function. Let's make our own function. Now, the same task I'm going to do. Now, for example, now this is, let's say tomorrow I want to say that, why don't you get this 500 and 600 added? This is what I want to do. 500 and 600, whatever I will write here. So what we will do, you will change this macro. You will say that then I equals to range, and then you give the value called A10 dot value, isn't it? Right? This is what you will give. Or maybe you can use the cells command as well. That's fine. Like you will use the cells, which row. So this is going to be the 11th row, and the column number would be 2 dot value. So whatever, syntax wise, you can use whatever syntax you want, but ultimately this is how you can connect these cells, right? And then you will have this A1 value printed in the K. So if I run this, then you see that the value will change, and you will see here 600. But the point is, if I say that you got to display this result here in this cell, or maybe let's say I would say that you want to display the result here, but then you want to use this 600 and 191. What does that mean? Then are you telling me that you're going to go back in this, and then you're going to change the entire code? For example, now you're going to make this A1. And the next line, which is, if you want 191, then it's on the second row. So you will select the second row, and you will choose the third column. You got to be kidding with me, right? Because you can't actually come back again and again, right? So you need something really, which is available, which is frequent, which is, you just write and the function will appear. Like as I was telling you, sum function, right? So I know you would say that, all right, so if you have to sum, then I will use the sum function, I'll use this and this, and that is what I'm telling you. So what happens? This function you can use on the spreadsheet, but you can't use the macro. Macro, you can create a button, you can run it, but you can't use it anywhere. For example, what if I want this output here? You can use the sum function here because it is the Excel function. So you can maybe use 500, and maybe you can use this value as well, because you have the parameters here. But in the macro, you will have to edit every time the code. So that is the difference when they say that function returns a value, whereas a macro is all about, running the set of instructions, the instructions which you write, the VBA syntaxes. But now I'm not going to finish here, because I know you would say that this is a very simple function, the sum function we have made. Now let's say you want to do something that whenever you add some two values, you will get that 10% out of it. 10% means it is going to add 10% of the commission. So what we will do, and sum function cannot do that, because sum only will sum up the number. So what we will do, we will create our own function, and we will do that, right? Same thing you can do here as well. For example, you can and you can plus them, and then you can take the 10% of it. So I'm just going to write here 10%, which is 0.01. I will multiply it with again I plus j, and this is what I can create, right? And we can run this, right? Or maybe let's say we want this 20%. Okay, so if I write 20%, is it going to work? No, I don't think so it is going to work. So you'll have to write 0.2. Okay, so now see what will happen. Let's just run this code again. So here I will print this value, let's say on the A2 cell. Okay, this is where we would like to see the value. So let's go ahead and see. So what is the value in the K? The value in the K is 125136. right? So now we need to understand actually how this value has come up. So basically, I mean, I'm telling you that let it be any calculation. So let's make it simple. Maybe let's just do one thing. Let's just add this, the whole syntax, 0.2% of it. Okay, so let's run this code. Now let's see the value. So there we go. So we got it 949. So how we got the 949? So you have A1, the value in the A1 is 600, and in the column 3 and the 2 you have 191, right? So if you add 600 plus 191, what will be the value? This is going to be the value. Okay, 791. And then I'm going to take this, what is the percentage we have taken? We have taken the 0.2%, right? So I'm going to write here, if this is going to be the 20% of this, then whatever the value I have, I'm going to add it. And this is what I see here, right? 949.2. Well, anyways, this is it's rounding up the number only because of the reason that it's actually long. So long doesn't really take care of the decimal numbers. But yes, I mean, if you change this to double, single, you will get the correct value, because single is used for the decimal values. Now if you don't know that, you can go ahead and watch the previous video which uploaded, I think 4 days back, VBA interview, the part number 188. So there you have a question on the data types. You go ahead after watching this video and you will understand what I'm saying. So if I run this macro right away, you would see that the answer is coming 949.2, right? So if you need this kind of a stuff, then there is no function in Excel. You will have to, I mean, additionally do the things. But right now we are going to make a function, a VBA function, our own function, right? And then you will understand the difference. So here, this is how we write function. So you can tell that subs, macros always start with the word called sub, whereas function starts with the function word, right? So we will write the function here. So I'm going to write my name here. I'll declare here I as integer or maybe single, and j as again single. And the output of this function is also going to be single. The moment I press enter, you see end function is going to be created. So in the case of sub, automatically when you write sub, you see end sub gets created. In the case of the function, when you press enter, end function gets created. That's the very basic thing you can tell them, right? The second thing which you're going to tell is that function always uses these parameters, whereas sub, generally 99% of the time they don't use it. You can get the subs in them, right? But generally you don't use them. Right. So again, if you want to know that under what circumstances we use them, I think I have uploaded a video as well on that. What is the difference between ByRef and ByVal? You can go ahead and watch this video as well. One of my subscribers actually asked me long time back, and I uploaded the video on that. But generally subs, I mean, goes like this only, simple. But functions always need the parameters, obviously, because when you use the VLOOKUP function, let's say, don't you see the parameters here? You see the parameters, right? So function, take any function in Excel. Let's say some function. You require parameters, right? So in the VBA also, if you're going to build any function like Ajay, right, you have to provide these functions, you have to provide these parameters. So what we are going to do here in this case, I'm going to copy this, the same thing, dimk as long. I don't want to make this part of function, so I'll just keep it outside this function parameters. So the same function I'm going to display here. Look at this. Copy this and paste it here. Now instead of range A2 value, what I will do, I will write that my function is going to be equals to Ajay. That's the big difference. So you can also tell them that function, in the end of the function, you always define the function and then you give it a value, whatever value you are using, whether you're using it through variable or you're directly using it. But before the end function, you have to write the function name. Like once you write, when you define the function, and then you write before just end function. Now I'll tell you the actual difference now. Here comes the point, guys. Now you see, first of all, if I try to run F8, I can't run it. Did you know that? Well, if you knew that, wonderful, thumbs up to you. If you don't, then see this. I'm trying to press F8. I'm trying to use this, F8 mode, which is to run the macro, but nothing will happen. Whereas if I press F8 here, your macro will run. So that is also the difference. You can tell your interviewer that F8 command doesn't work in the functions directly. Whereas in the subs, you can always run the F8 command step by step, to see the macro. So you can tell, in order to run the function, obviously the next question would be then, so is it something that we can't debug them, we can't check them? Of course you can. You just put the breakcode here, and then you have to go to the Excel sheet And there you need to write, and look at this, the function starts coming. It's not like a macro which will never come, right? I was telling you in the beginning that what if you press equals to and say simple macro? Would you be able to see? No, you won't be able to see, because that's a simply sub. You can't really access that from the workbook, from the sheet, right? But the function, when you write, you can access it. Now, what is the next important thing I'm going to do? I'm going to select these two cells, this and this. Why? Because in my function, you see, in Ajay, I have written two parameters. One is the I and the one is the J. So the moment I select this, automatically A1 will go to the I and C2 will go to the J. The moment I press enter, look at this. The breakcode is already there. The function will stop. And from here now, you can press F8. This is the way you run the F8 in the functions. Right? You can't directly run them on the VBA environment. You have to press the breakcode. If you don't press the breakcode and you just press enter, then this line will be executed immediately and you won't even come to know. But right now, we are going to see what is going to happen. So look at this now. F8. What is the value in the I? It is 600. The same value which you used here. So by default, it's going to accept that A1 as I and C2 as J. So if you hover on the J, you would see 191. So automatically all this calculation will happen. Now, that's the important line. You see your value in the K? It's 949. Why it's 949? Because I actually declared it as a long. So long always, round up the number. So it's not going to give you a decimal number. So anyways, we can change it to single later on. But look at this. Now, this function Ajay which I have written, if you will not write this line, then your function will never return you a value. So this, when you run, this gives you value 949, which is coming from the K. The moment you press F8, there we go, and you got the value. So let me just click here single. So in this way, what is happening, the moment I press enter, see, I remove the breakcode, so it is so quick. You were getting the value here, you were getting the value here as well, but there's a lot of difference. You can use this function anywhere, all right. What values you want to use? I want to use 5 and 6, 5 and 8. So the moment you press enter, it's going to give you the answer. The same calculation which we did here, if you remembered, I think the 20%, it's 20% is getting added with this I plus J. So that means that it's added 5 plus 8 and then the 20% of this 8 plus 5, gets further added. So you got the answer. Now you are very much independent. Now, if I go to this sheet, by the way, this was the video I was talking about, the recent video I uploaded. So here you can see all the things. What are the various data types used in VBA, option based? I have discussed all these questions in detail. So if I use the Ajay here, it's available in the entire workbook. You can use it, right? Whereas when you write the macros, generally what you do, you create the buttons on some specific sheets and from there only you access them. Right, but a function can be written anywhere. Let me create a new sheet. All right, so there we go, and I'm going to write here some number called this and this. All right, so I'm going to select this. It's available, right? I select this. I can select any numbers. I'm so much independent of it. I don't have to go back to the window and to edit the numbers like I was editing here, that this has to be equals to A1, this has to be equals to cell second row and the third column. No, function will automatically take the value which you're going to pass in. Right now, I know many of you, the very, very super intelligent people, they are going to ask me, so Ajay, tell me one thing, if I'm going to select 3 parameters, let's say, then what will happen? Would it further give me any answer? Let's say I select this cell. Well, it will not give you any answer. Even if you write something here, let's say, and you say that, all right, so I'm going to use this, and this. Let's just press enter. Why? Because you have not given any space, any parameter for the third parameter. Now tell me one thing. Is it possible that when you use the VLOOKUP, okay, you have 4 parameters here, lookup value table, index, range, outlook. Can you pass in the 5 parameters here? You can't. If you do that, you will get the error, right? So if you want to sum 3 numbers, maybe I would say, let's go ahead then, let's create one more parameter. Let's name it a MS single. Okay, and then let's just get it added here, and let it just get let us just add it here as well. Now you have the parameters. Now if you run the same function Ajay, which has 3 values, 33, 33, 44, let's just press enter, and there we go, you got the answer, right? So I can again show you what happens. Let me put the breakcode here and let me just run it. because I want to show you step by step. So now press F8. Look at this, what happened. I got what? 33. J got what? 33. M got what? 44. So this 33 and this 33, they are automatically, you know, false in these parameters, and this way you can use the functions. So what we have learned, the first thing which you read a lot, which you might have read a lot, function returns a value whereas sub does not. What does that mean? This exactly, you know, is what I'm talking about. Function returns a value on the spreadsheet itself. The moment you're going to write the function, you can use it, and it is definitely going to return us some value if the function is valid, if it is correctly written, right? Like for example, in this case, I have now passed in only 2 parameters, whereas I made my function for the 3 parameters. So let me select 3 and press enter. So this returns a value right on the screen, but sub doesn't do that. You have to run this sub from the VBA environment, or maybe you create a button here or shortcut and then you can run it, but it is not going to be return you anything directly, you know, right on the spot. So that's the difference. And the another thing you can tell that, you know, when you write the macros, when you write the subs, you nowhere actually use the macro name before the end sub, or anywhere in fact in the, you know, within the macro. You just always write the name and that's it. But in the functions, you will definitely do that. Now suppose if I skip this line, let me comment this line out. So let's go ahead and let's do one thing. Let's write here Ajay, and let me write 1, 2 and 3. Press enter. What you will get? You will get 0. Why? Because you have not generated the statement. So what will happen? Eventually K will be calculated, but you will have to, you know, put that value back in Ajay, and that is why this line is so important. And this is not only about this function. You read any function in the VBA, they will always have this before the end function name and whatever the value they want to return. So if I now press enter, I should be getting a number which is 7.2. So this is the second thing you can tell, right? That before end function, we always declare it again and say equals to this value or that value, whatever the variable we have, right? And of course, the basic thing is always that a function starts with a function word and a macro starts with a sub word, right? So that's always just a very actually basic thing you can tell them. It ends with the end function, it tells with the end sub, so you can let them know, you know, all these informations. So that's exactly the difference between the function and a subroutine, a sub procedure, right? So I hope I have prepared you for this question, and as I said that a lot of videos are already on the channel. You can watch all these VBA interview questions, the by ref and by well, and this especially the part 1 video number 188. There I have actually talked about all these questions and I have explained them, you know, in a very detailed manner. So again, with the name that to make you awesome in Excel, I'll definitely come back and upload some more videos on these interview parts, because I received a lot of emails. I keep on receiving, in fact, you know, you guys really want to understand how the interviews are actually going to be conducted and what basically generally people, you know, ask it. So I will definitely upload some more videos on that. All right, so I'll see you again with some more exciting stuff. Goodbye. Thank you so much.